You are now listening to the Project Life podcast, where we take project management concepts and apply them to your everyday life. Broadcasting from the Lone Star State in Austin, Texas, help me welcome your host, Mr. George Lopez.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Thank you guys for tuning back in. Make sure you guys catch us live on Facebook for this episode. And if you didn't catch us live, then make sure that you reach out to us or just go out to our website, www.projectlifepodcast.com, and you can catch all of our great content there for this show and any other show. And for this week, I just want to get right to it. Don't want to go on with a long monologue because I have a great guest that has a great story that I just kind of want to get out to the world and hopefully to help inspire you guys and everyone. I just want to welcome to the show Simone Knego. Simon, how are you? Simone, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm great. How are you? Thanks so much for having me here today.
Oh, I am doing awesome. And when I read your story, I was like, oh my God, I got to get her on the show because this is everything that if I wanted to tell someone and sum it up on how you can take something small or your goals or whatever you have going on in your life and you can accomplish it by thinking outside the box and making small changes in your life. And when I read your bio, I was like, oh my God, I have to get her on the show. So let's start there. Just give us a little bit of background, who you are, where you're from, and then I'll dive into all the greatness that you got going on in your life.
Okay. So I am, again, Simone Knego, and I am the mom of 6 children. I live in Sarasota, Florida. I just published a book in October called The Extraordinary Unordinary You. And my story is really about, I'm just an ordinary girl, right? I'm just an everyday kind of girl. And, it took me a long time to realize what I was capable of because of labels that I would put on myself. And so all of these things that have happened in my life between my children, we adopted our youngest 3 children. All of these things that have happened kind of led me to this realization that it's the little things that we do every day that inspire the people around us that truly make a difference. And we can't sell ourselves short. I think a lot of times we compare ourselves to other people. And we can't do that. We need to compare ourselves to ourselves. That's it. We need to just look at ourselves and say, okay, you can do this.
No, that's awesome. Because really that's what the premise of the show is about. When I first thought of the show, like I'm a project manager, on let's call the real life. My real job is a project manager. And I said, man, everything that I do as a project manager, you can put that to life. And there's so many different ways that we can cut this thing that we call life up and really to help achieve anything that we want to, whether it's losing weight, whether it's going back to school, whether it's saving money, buying a home. Like if we, projectize our lives, that's kind of the concept that I took about it. And as we started to grow and grow and grow, and I started to see different people and interview different people, it's like, there's so many ways to skin this cat. Let's just get it out to the world. And, hopefully someone could take, one thing off any of our shows and help improve their life. So, jumping back into your history. So what's your background? Are you of the corporate world or what kind of background?
So I started my life in accounting. I have a master's in accounting. I'm a CPA, but I realized early on that I wasn't made to sit behind a desk. I like to talk too much. So I've tried way too many things, a lot of things. But I've really realized that my purpose is as a storyteller to motivate and to inspire people so that they too can realize, what they're capable of. But yeah, I've done a lot of things. I went back to school. Once we had 6 kids, I went back to school to be a teacher. I taught for a few years. Then I worked in medical sales. And then I'm here. Now I'm here where I decided to put all my stories down on paper because, my goal was really, it's what you talk about, if someone can take one thing away from, something that you're saying, and, I feel like if I can inspire one person, then I've done my job. And so that's my goal, is to really share my stories in terms of changing your mindset, changing the way you see yourself, because you are capable of anything that you want to do, but you have to believe in yourself first.
No, that's great. And that's kind of what, what started me with this project to get things going. And so what was it? Was there something that happened within your life that, kind of got you going into this direction, made you stop, made you think and said, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's actually to me, it's probably an insignificant moment that kind of changed the way I saw myself. And I was sitting at this women's empowerment luncheon, listening to a motivational speaker, and I kind of felt like, okay, that will never be me. And did I feel a little bit bad about myself? For a moment, I did. And then I thought, this is the whole point. That shouldn't be me. I should just be impressed by that person on stage because they are so inspiring and motivational. And what I need to do is look at myself and look at what I'm doing in the world, what I'm doing in my little corner of the world. And if I'm making a difference there, then that's what's important. And so that was kind of my moment where I really changed the way I looked at myself, and I stopped really comparing myself, because I think that's the worst thing we can do to ourselves. We look at everybody else around us and think, well, I'm just instead of I am. And I think that is such an important thing. And for me, it really changed how I talk to myself. Again,
Right.
six kids, I have to talk to myself, right? If I want to have a reasonable conversation. But, I really stopped doing I'm just a mom. I'm just a stay-at-home wife. I'm just, I am these things because these are things that make me who, they're all part of who I am. And that led me to this moment in time. So to me, it's so important to really feel good about yourself for exactly where you are.
Right. And at what point of your life did you realize this? And there's a reason that I'm kind of dragging this one out of you.
Yeah, not too long ago. I'm 48 years old, and this was in the last few years where I had this moment of, you really are making a difference. And the reason I say it like that is, I'm going through all these steps in my daily life thinking this is just my daily life. There's nothing great going on here. It was really great, right? But it was just the way I was looking at it. So it wasn't too long ago that I really had this realization of, and looking back, I have people who have said, do you have any regrets of anything you did? And I would say no, because it got me to where I am today. Yeah. So it's all moments in time. It's all, pieces of my journey that led me to here.
Yes. And where I was going with that, everyone, at no point, whether you're 21 or 60 years old, there's no point within your life that you cannot stop, have some self-realization, and still make the best progress for your life moving forward, regardless at whatever age you are. And I've had a few people tell me the same thing of like, oh, would you change anything? And I tell them no, because I wouldn't be at this point. Like if I made different choices in my life prior, then, it wouldn't have led me down this path to, just for example, for the show, like I probably wouldn't be doing the show if I chose to do things differently in the past and not live off life experiences to get me to this point. So that is awesome. And it's one of those things that on the show we've had folks talk about self-talk and being able to identify that. What are some of your tips that, you personally went through to kind of help you with that process of like, hey, hold on, like I'm really kind of negative towards myself, or, I have these, I'm labeling myself. What were some of the things that helped draw that out of you to help you realize that you were going through that?
My kids, for one thing, they always tell me that, they probably not anymore, because now they're like, you talk to everybody now, but they, that I was always too hard on myself, like give yourself a break. Like, I don't know why you're frustrated by this, or why you're, you're so hard on yourself. And I think that really kind of the biggest impact I can make on this world is raising good humans, right? So for my children to look at me and say that I'm too hard on myself, guess what they're going to be? They're going to be way too hard on themselves. So that kind of change that now, they don't see that anymore. So I really feel like they believe that they can do, anything they want, as long as they want to do it. That's the biggest thing. They have to want to do it. but yeah, really, it's a mindset change, right? It's really, and there's lots of things that, I used to, we would, one of our favorite sayings in our house is, can't means won't. So,
Like that.
you don't, we just don't say, I can't do that, because, it just means you won't do it. Right. Like
Right.
you can do something, you just have to, set your mind to it, and take the time to learn something, or take the time to put into it. Again, you have to want to do it.
Right. And so as that realization came to you based on what your kids were saying, what were some of the steps that you were taking to help yourself kind of start to change that mindset? What were some of those small things that you were starting to do that helped change that mindset?
So it's funny. I call it mirror moments. So I do, when I get up in the morning, I look in the mirror and think, okay, what's one great thing right now? Like don't look at any of the negative stuff. Think of one great thing, one thing that you love about yourself, one thing that you just say, oh, this is great. I would do that. And, I would also go through like all the good things that were going to happen in my day, which I think is really important as well. There's a lot of stuff that happens every day that you're like, oh, do I have to deal with that? But you do. But there's always great stuff that's happening as well. You just have to see it that way. So those are some of the things that I would do. But really, it's not like an overnight thing where you just say all of a sudden, okay, I'm fine. We all struggle, right? Everybody struggles. I think that realization as well, sitting down at a table of women and having a conversation, thinking from the outside, like they look perfect and put together. There's no such thing as perfect, but but and then you have a conversation. I mean, that's the biggest thing. You have to use your words. You have to have a conversation, because then you realize you're not alone. And so the things that really impacted me the most was listening to other people tell me what they were going through, and then sharing my stories of things that I struggled with, or things that I felt bad about myself. And that really helped. That really, made me look at myself differently and say, you are not alone. You're not the only one that struggles. And, you can make a difference by sharing your stories.
No, that's great, because it truly is. And a few things I've heard over the last year that kind of really blew my mind, because they're simple things, but until you start to think about it, I had an author come on the show and say, words have meaning, and words that you tell yourself have meaning. And it's like, what, hold on, like, and you start to realize the negativity that you start to share towards yourself. It's one of those things to where, again, like you said, there's no perfect life out there. Everyone goes through their ups and downs, and everyone goes through their struggles, and being able to talk about it and put those into words, and express those words, you would probably come out to find out that you have a lot more in common with the people around you than you would actually think. And hey, I'm sure there are other people out there with 6 kids that deal with some of the same struggles that you may deal with, or folks that have adopted kids and deal with the same struggles. But until we talk about it, then we really don't know. And then, it just kind of goes into a crazy spiral. Now, looking back at just at your bio, it looks like you made a climb of some
Mhm.
sort up a very large mountain. Can you tell me about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, this week was the 6th-year anniversary, which is crazy to me that it was 6 years ago that I did this, but I climbed Kilimanjaro,
Oh, man.
which again, it's so funny because I have 6 kids, right? Like,
Right.
but there's so what? Like, this is something that I can't say it was a bucket list item forever. There's a backstory to it, but when I set my mind to it, and and my family was super supportive. I said, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do. And I had someone say to me the other day, it's funny, as moms, we're always supposed to be so selfless. And to me, that sounds a little selfish. And I said, absolutely,
Right.
but that's okay. Like, what a great thing for my kids to see that you can do, what you put your mind to. I mean, I am, again, so that was 6 years ago. I was 42. I was definitely in better shape than I am now, but like I'm not a climber. I
Right.
just, I trained for it. I worked really hard and I accomplished it. And so for me, it was really important for them to see those kinds of things. Same thing with the book, like you set your mind to something, you follow through, and great things happen.
Yeah, most definitely. So what was that process like? What was the conversation that you had with your family first off on, hey, this is what I want to do? And was it first like, haha, that's funny, and then it turned into reality, or was it, no, here's my plan and I need you guys to jump on board with this?
So my husband actually knew about it because his one of his closest friends had climbed Kilimanjaro the year before,
Okay.
and it was with the Live Strong Foundation. So they had the opportunity to invite people for the next year, and basically, we were raising funds for the Live Strong Foundation. So he called my husband and asked if he was interested, and he wasn't. But he's like, I tell a story that he basically counted to 3 and said, no, thank you, call Simone. You know how she likes challenges. And they did. And, I signed up. So he was on board from the beginning because he knew what was happening.
Right.
And the kids were good. I mean, they were like, really? You're going to do that? You're going to sleep outside for that long? And you think you can do this? Yes, I can do this. So, and then we turned it into like a school program. So like my daughter was in, first grade at the time. And so I would call into the classroom when I could get cell service and tell them what I saw.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it was really, they were totally involved in it. And I just think it was such a good experience for all of us. And yes, I was gone basically close to 2.5 weeks. They survived,
Right.
and they're better for it. They're capable of doing their own stuff. So,
Right.
but yeah, it was life changing. I went with a group of 16 people, didn't know any of them, and became really good friends with the majority of them. I still keep in contact with a lot of the people from that trip. And when you talk about leadership training, to have to figure out how to work as a team at elevation, I think there's, nothing better and nothing more difficult, because, you have to make, serious choices every day of how do you move forward? Do you move forward as a team? Do you, are you going to get to the top by yourself? This is a team thing. Like, how are we going to make this work? And it worked, and we all made it to the top. And I think we all have great stories to tell from it.
Oh, I bet. I could only imagine. Now, what was one thing that probably the biggest thing you took away about yourself from that trip?
Not to limit myself. I mean, I think that was the biggest thing, is just to say, if there's something I want to do, absolutely, I can do it. And I'm capable of doing it. I think that's the biggest thing. I think, we go back to that negative self-talk and doubting ourselves about things. And, realistically, I haven't climbed anything before, and let me choose
Right.
Kilimanjaro for the first thing to do. Like
Right.
that sounds brilliant. But, I think that it's that piece of that I am capable of what I put my mind to. And the other thing is how important follow through is. That if I say I'm going to do something, I need to do it. I need to, complete any task that I sign myself up to, because I think that's another really important thing for my children to see, is that, when you make a commitment, you move forward with it. So I learned a lot about myself. I learned, funny things like, I did not know how to use a sleeping bag properly before that trip. There is a way that it's supposed to close around your face
Right.
so that you actually stay warm. Yeah, didn't know that. So that tells you how inexperienced I was in terms of, the climbing pieces and the outdoorsy stuff, which I do love, but that wasn't part of my everyday,
Right.
life.
Right. Now, from that, was this kind of the event that kind of catapulted you into this new set mindset of, there's nothing really I can't accomplish once I put my mind to it and commit, make a plan, and move forward?
That it was the beginning of it. I can't say it was like the final thing, because I think there were still moments of other things that I was doing where I would, doubt myself. But I really think this was kind of the beginning of, wow, you could do that. And again, the funny thing is, like, I just saw it as, wait, I did this. And other people would come up to me and say, oh my gosh, like, that's incredible. I could never do that. And I'm like, yeah, you could. If I could do it, you could do it.
Right.
So definitely it was the beginning of really me seeing that, and I already had 6 kids, so I am capable of stuff, right? But you put this in your head that you just can't do these things, and it's just so wrong. So that was, kind of seeing at a whole different level, things that I could do, and it was fun, and
Oh, I bet.
and interacting with people that, figuring out how to work, that I think was one of the coolest things, is just figuring out how to work as a team with total strangers. I had a tent mate, so I was sharing a tent with a woman that I didn't know before this trip, and we're very good friends. And what a great life experience to kind of figure out your way in the moment.
Now, what were some of the things on this trip that were helping you push along? Because I'm sure there was a few times along the trip where it's just like, I can't do this. It's freezing. There's no air. It's cold. So and so super slow. I'm sure you may have hit those roadblocks along the way. What were some things that you used to help push yourself and keep yourself going?
Again, I told my kids I was going to do it, so I better do it. That was a big motivator for me, and also really involving my daughter's entire class in it. And it was so cute, them all cheering, and really makes you, just like when you're running a race, right? And you're like at your moment where you feel like, I just can't do it, I'm just going to stop, and then people start cheering, and all of a sudden you get it right back, right? And then you're able to move forward. So it's that kind of thing where, I could think to myself, like, I can hear them supporting me. And, I think that is such a powerful thing. And also, I'm part of this team, right? So if I stop, what happens to the rest of the team? And, I want to make sure that I'm doing the best job I can to move forward for everybody else around me. There are definitely moments. The hardest thing, I think, was, at night when it was cold and you had to get up and go to the bathroom, you would have to like psych yourself up to just get out of the tent, and you're like, I don't know, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And then I would do a countdown and run, and things that you don't think about.
Right.
You got to think about those things. Yeah.
Most definitely. And so now that we transition, you take on this great journey. You've raising 6 kids, you come back home, and now we start to, or a few years later, we start to write the book. When did that come about, and was that always a goal, or what kind of helped inspire the book come to fruition?
Yeah, it actually was not a goal. So when we talk about asking my family what they thought about me climbing Kilimanjaro, that they were kind of like, yeah, okay. When we talk about writing the book, they were like, you're going to write a book. so that was kind of funny. But I started in a national leadership position, and through that position, I had quite a few speaking engagements, and that kind of really inspired me to continue sharing my stories and to feel the power of, really being open and honest and sharing the good, the bad, the funny, the sad, all of it, not just my shiny moments, right? Like the things that I struggle with as well, and how impactful that is, because, it helps people again, going back to that, you're not alone. But yeah, so that was really kind of the beginning of it. I would share my story and people would say, you should write a book. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to write a book, but thank you. I'll come speak for you, but I'm not writing a book. And then I finally, people say it enough times, you start thinking about it and thinking, okay, how many more people could I reach with my message? Or, how do I, what is this going to be the right thing? And to me, it was. I felt like putting my, stories down on paper for people to read, and something for my children to have later as well. And it was definitely the right choice. Again, a moment in time that brought me to where I am today. So definitely the right thing for me to do. So
Most definitely. So the book in itself, the extraordinary, unordinary you, is it really more your stories, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, prosperous, or tell us a little bit about the book on well, now it's a best-selling book, from what I'm reading. What was the inspiration there, and a little bit about the book.
I was really trying to figure out how I could connect my stories, and so that was that realization of that the the underlying theme in all of this is about realizing what you're capable of, and recognizing that the things you do every day have the power to inspire the people around you. So that was kind of the connection piece for all of my stories. So, I share my children's adoption stories. Our For example, our one son, Ari, who is 16 now, he was 4.5 years old when we brought him home from Ethiopia. And, I talk honestly about how, bringing him home and, you have to think, we have a lot of people say to us, oh, your children are so lucky. And I always say, no, they're not, because these kids have started at a place of loss, right? They've lost everything they had. And yes, now we're trying to rebuild, but, it's a different perspective. We are the lucky ones because they've changed our lives so much. So their adoption stories, I talk about Kilimanjaro. I talk about, just really different events, the funny stuff.
Right.
My husband is a physician, and when it comes to his work, he's like perfection, right? Like, okay, there's no perfect, but like he's
Right.
he's really but when it comes to when the kids have something wrong, if there's blood involving the kids, he becomes human. He's no longer the doctor. He's all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, Simone. I was like,
Where's the
relax.
Band-Aids?
I was like, let's evaluate the situation. It's okay. And he laughs when I talk about this. So, but I think like it's real, right? Like this is, we have these moments in our lives. My daughter, who's 18, she was diagnosed with Crohn's last year, and, going through that whole process, and, we could just like be miserable about it, or we can be miserable for a second, put it behind us, and move forward in the best possible way. And, that's really what, another thing that I talk about is that, you have choices in your life. You can choose to be miserable. You can choose to be happy. We choose to be happy no matter what is happening. There can be moments of misery. You leave it behind, you move forward, you learn from it. And so, I mean, that's basically it. And my biggest thing is that I truly believe in is that if you change the way you see yourself, the world around you will change. And that's throughout the book. That's really such an important piece for me, because that's what helps me, is that I really, excuse me, changed the way I saw myself, and realized how impactful the things that I already was doing, but also how much more I could do to positively impact people around me.
Yeah, and talking to yourself and realizing, the power that you actually have is way more powerful than what people actually think. And so and I'm sure you may tell us in the book, but what were some of the things that helped, or you would tell people if you had to tell them now, hey, really look at yourself, try this to kind of help see how good of a person and how good of a person you really are, that you're not seeing. Like, take away all the negative, but what can someone take away and say, hey, she did this to kind of help see through the bad and to see the greatness that she had within herself.
I think there's positive moments in everything we do. And I think it's that big realization of that. It's not just, there are tough moments, right? But looking at the other side of everything I've done, things that I've struggled with, it brought me to a better place personally. I mean, it made me grow as a human. So, really looking at not labeling yourself. I think that is such an important piece. I think we do that far too often. when our label is human, right? That's our label. Beyond that, it shouldn't be. It just should be, and looking at, people don't think. I have a friend who, she was telling me that I really didn't think about the things I was doing, like, she would cook meals for her son's swim team, and that was just like part of the job she did. She didn't really think about it as being something powerful because she was helping this group. And so that kind of really changed her mindset. She's like, I never thought about it like that before. I just thought I'm cooking dinner, but what I'm doing is I'm feeding this team so that they can, do well in their swim meet. So again, changing the way, she looked at the stuff that she was already doing. I think we have our blinders on a lot of times. We, how many times do you walk to your mailbox or wherever and, you don't, or you're in the grocery store and you see someone, and you turn the other way. Now everybody wears a mask, so you can't tell who they are anyways. But it's so powerful to take a moment and give someone, your attention for a minute. Like, I think, and it doesn't take much, right? Like you reach out and ask someone how they're doing. And for a lot of people, that might be the only contact or connection they had the entire day. So, realizing that those things that, you might already be doing, talking to your neighbor as you walk down the street, or, helping someone taking their trash cans, like that, it might seem basic, but it could make the difference in someone's day. So I think that, there's so much that we take for granted. We don't look at these things that we do and say, wow, I just did something really powerful, because we think it's just part of our responsibilities, or we feel like it's, part of the label that we carry with us. And we just have to change that. We have to really understand that these little things are really, it's not changing. You don't have to say, I have to do this big grandiose thing to change the world. Change your corner of the world, just in your daily life, how you interact with other people. I think it's just so important.
Yeah. And what a lot of people don't realize is that small things, as small as they seem, you compound that 100 times. Now it's something big, or it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and understanding that even just the smallest change in your life, or just on your day-to-day routine, done and realized over and over again, can actually have huge impacts on your life. So coming out of 2020, 2020 is still, something different. How has that changed? Has that changed your mindset a little bit, or has it opened up your mindset a little bit more on some of the self-realization that you've had, and even grown out of 2020?
Yeah, I think it actually has opened up my mindset a little bit more, because I think that seeing, the struggle that people have, we're stuck in our homes, right? I mean, it's changed a little bit, but we're still stuck in our homes. So these contact points are now, Zoom is our connector, so, but realizing how important it is to still connect. And so I have my second oldest daughter. She is a freshman in college. And so basically she missed her senior year. First, she was diagnosed with Crohn's. And then as they went back to school, then obviously lockdown happened. And so she had no senior year. And then when she was going off to college, it wasn't in person, but they could live at the dorms. So that was her decision, that she felt like she missed her last year of her high school experience, and she wanted to really be able to meet some friends, in person. And honestly, it was the best thing that she's done. But it's so hard, because we look at, our children right now and think that what's going to be their normal. There is no normal, but what's going to be their normal? Because, this last year has been so difficult, for everybody's mental health and for, but I think for, I joke around, about, obviously this is very serious, but I joke around that the things that I learned about myself, during COVID is that I used to be a t-shirt and jeans kind of girl. Now I'm a leggings kind of girl. But, in all seriousness, I think that really kind of taking that time and understanding that we're all going through this, right, at different levels, and thinking about, okay, when we can get back out there, what are the things that I can do to make someone else's life better, and even right now, what can I do? How can I reach out? How is there a story that I can share with someone that would help inspire them or make them, feel better? And it's little, again, it's these little things, but that's what we have, especially right now. So
yeah, it's crazy to think that now, in the times that we live in, that this crazy little device that we have can be so much more impactful as compared to in the past. I thought it was just a item that kind of harmed and took away time and took away from people, but now it's that one thing that can actually connect us a little bit, whether it's a text message, whether it's a phone call. To me, some of those things are more important now than they have been in years, but now we still have those devices, and just being able to check on somebody, like my parents live in Phoenix, Arizona, and a phone call or a text to them, means so much more now, because I can't go and travel and see them, or they can't come and see the grandkids and things of that sort. That, holy crap, like this
yeah.
thing was, a kind of a pain before, because all it did suck all my time to look at Facebook, but now it's actually becoming a tool to where I can help. At least if I'm not helping myself, then I'm at least helping somebody else, checking in on them and things of that sort.
Yeah. I mean, for me, exactly the same. It used to be a distraction, right? Like, how much time did I just waste, like, lurking? Like, I'm not even posting anything. What am I doing? But really now it's such an important piece of our everyday lives, so that we can check on people, so we can, share, have a conversation, and realize, and it goes back to what you said before, we are much more connected than we are separated, but now it's just virtually connected. But it's still so important to take that time to reach out. And again, how long does it take to send a text?
Right.
How long does it, and even if you made a phone call and it took you 15 minutes, there's a lot of minutes in the day. And it's really, for so many people, again, it might be the only connection they had all day. So, I think it's just one of those things that it's a different kind of thing that we're doing right now, but still there's ways that we can move forward, look at things in a different light, and really help people and inspire people around us by these little things that we're doing.
Now, Simone, what would be your advice for 2021 for anyone listening out there, either looking to accomplish a goal, looking to change their mindset? What would be one or two pieces of advice that you would give them for 2021?
So I think first I would say that, don't look back at 2020 and say, that was so miserable, I don't even know how I'm going to move forward. Again, anytime there's something that's a really big struggle, I lost my aunt to COVID. I mean, I think that many people have lost a family member or a friend. And I think we can look back and say, yes, it was such a difficult time, but how do we move forward in a positive way to, respect the people that have passed away, to really, kind of make a difference moving forward. So first thing I would say is, don't look back and say, oh my God, I was so miserable, I don't know how I'm going to move forward. It's kind of like, that piece is gone. Look at what you can do this year. And I think a lot of people are going forward with it's still gloom and doom. Actually tonight I had a friend message me, and she said, I just feel like it's hopeless right now. Like, I'm having a pity party because, I don't think I have anything to look forward to.
Oh.
I said, okay, well, tell me something little. I said, the thing I'm looking forward to tonight, my son had, ACL surgery and a meniscus repair like 5 days ago. So I haven't slept much. So she said, what are you looking forward to? And I said, I'm looking forward to sleeping. I am so excited about that.
Right.
Like that's something little. But she's like, I don't think I've ever heard you so excited about, talking about sleeping. I said, exactly. Think of something little. What's something little that you're, really looking forward to? Well, her brother had a baby today, and her focus was on that she doesn't get to see the baby. I said, your brother had a baby today. Let's focus on that part, because that's a really great thing with
Right.
all the things that are happening around us. Like, that's a really great thing. And you'll be able to see her. You'll be able to see her, just not right now. So I think really looking, and thinking about the things that you had to put on hold, thinking about how can I move forward with those once, the doors open up a little bit more. Obviously it's going to take time, but
Right.
really not getting stuck in that negative mindset of, it's just never going to happen again. It is, things are going to get better. They, we can look at history and we can say that the struggles that we've had, we were able to move forward afterwards. And, I think that's my biggest thing is thinking about what you can move forward with. And even if it's something little, feel excited about that.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, guys, this is why I wanted to bring Simone on to the show, because like myself and like the other guests I've had, we're ordinary people that have had goals, that have ways to think outside the box, that do not allow us to accept really defeat, if we want to call it defeat, when it comes to our goals. And once we have our mindset, and again, there's a lot of things out there that we can do, small things that we can do today that will have a huge payoff later down the line, just like Simone. And it was I want to do this, and there's nothing going to stop me. And through, having a supportive family and putting a plan together and sticking to it, it got done. If, when
Mm.
you guys read her bio on the website, it's, a mom of 6, who, again, got her degree in accounting, CPA, 6 kids, and still had the opportunity to make such a huge climb, write a book. And every day we're having a normal conversation as ordinary people. Like, you don't have to be the Bill Gates or
Right.
the Jeff Bezos of the world to be able to do what you want to do once you set your mind and get your mind right. And that's been really the biggest thing for us and the show, is to understand that once we get our mind right, anything is possible, guys. Anything is possible out there. And you just put one foot right after the other. And like Simone said, take small steps to move forward. And I'm telling you, you can achieve what you're looking to achieve. Simone, where can people find you? One, if they want to find the book, and two, if you have any kind of social media or fan pages that you would like to give us.
Absolutely. And thank you for this. Like, it really has been an amazing discussion. And, I just feel so passionately about really helping people change their mindset, because I think it's so important. I think we're just way too hard on ourselves, and,
Yeah.
we're all human. Let's support each other. Let's lift each other up. So you can find my book on Amazon. The Extraordinary Unordinary You. I am actually the only Simone Knego in the world. I have a feeling someone's now going to like change their name, or name their kid Simone Knego. Doubt it, but so I'm the only one in the world. Last name is Knego. That's always the question I get. But you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. And then my website is SimoneKnego.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. So, and if you want to reach out, if you want to have a conversation, I'm here, because that's my goal. Again, if I can impact one person, then I've done my job. So don't hesitate to reach out, because that's what I'm here for.
That's awesome, Simone. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the great discussion. I love your story. I love what you're trying to do. It's very similar to what I'm trying to do. I feel like everyone can win, as long as you put your mind to it. There's room for everyone at the table, and we just got to get each other to the table and help each other, pull each other up, and get through not only what's going on now, but just with anything. And guys, all her information will be on the website, so all the links. So if you didn't catch it now, it will be on our website, projectlifepodcast.com. Once you click on this episode, it'll have her bio, it'll have her links. We'll put the Amazon link to her book if you definitely want to check out the book. And Simone, again, thank you for the time and the discussion.
My pleasure. Thanks again for having me on the show.
No problem. And maybe we'll have to check in with you at the end of the year and see how things have turned out.
I would love that.
Awesome, Simone. Thank you again.